Thank you so much for coming today. We're going to cut a little ribbon, I think.
Yeah, I've got
We're
some
gonna do
scissors.
this
Simon, why don't you come and join us?
to formally open the event.
Let me hand you that pair of scissors there. Difficult to cut out. Well done. That's great stuff. Thank you very much indeed.
I just want to talk a little bit about what the guys are doing here and why it's important. I don't want to preach to you because there's a lot of preaching when it comes to the environment, and people go, yeah, I've heard that for years and years and years. But actually, genuinely, we need to do some very, very simple and very important things. I remember when I was about that big, watching programs like Blue Peter, and they talked about being green and being sustainable and being ecological. And even though things have moved massively forward in terms of events like this, which is absolutely brilliant, I still think that we're not doing the simple things very, very well. So things like insulation, which I think we've got patches of here, loft insulation. It staggers me. I made a series called The Home Show. I don't know if you watched that. When I made The Home Show, I was going into ordinary people's homes, very ordinary houses, and trying to make the spaces work. But at the same time, we were trying to upgrade them ecologically. We didn't talk about that too much, actually, to be honest, but it was a really important thing of all the improvements that we did. It absolutely amazed me at how many houses I went into that still don't have loft insulation. It is mind-boggling. And even though you've got this fantastic work here today of renewable energy, air source heat pumps, underfloor heating systems, rainwater harvesting, you name it, things like insulation just make a massive difference. I was also staggered about how many people have got ancient boilers in their house. And I'm not talking about their wives or their mother-in-law. If a boiler's over 10 years old, it's really inefficient. But what people do is they just think, well, it still works. It's fine. Until it breaks, they don't do anything about it. And I think what we've got to try and do is change that mentality in people's minds, that it's not just about fixing things, it's about improving things, maintaining things in a really efficient way. MOT your home is something I've been talking about for about 5 years, because we MOT our cars, don't we? For safety. We make sure that they're roadworthy, that they're environmentally friendly, that they've got a lower level of emissions than a lot of vehicles might have. But when it comes to our houses, we never do it. So we sit there with this rickety old boiler for years and years and years until it breaks. And the only people who, under legislation, have got to do anything about those boilers are landlords. If you're renting a place out, you've got to get it certified every year and get it checked. But why aren't we doing that for every house in Britain? I just don't get it. And actually, there's been some pretty awful, tragic stories about installers who might have not installed a fire properly or a boiler properly into a home, and people have actually lost their lives because things haven't been done in a proper way. And what all of this is about today, all of this is about installers and the trade really understanding those very simple technologies. None of this really is complicated stuff. What's fantastic, through technological developments in the industry have made these things simple. This sort of stuff is actually unbelievably simple to install, but it's got to be done right, and it's got to be done by someone who's approved, who really knows what they're doing. We were talking before about the rainwater harvesting. Rainwater harvesting, most of the time people would just dig a hole in the back garden and stick that in there, but it's all the other kit alongside it that's got to be done in the right way. And if that's not done properly, as simple as it is, the kit doesn't work. And then all of a sudden, if the kit doesn't work, the public lose confidence in what all of you guys are trying to do. And really, the Green Deal is all about instilling that confidence into the public out there to sign up. Actually, the Green Deal is a fantastic idea, isn't it? Really good. You're going to save money on all of your utility bills, and the money that you save goes back to paying off a small-scale loan that you've taken out for a bit of kit like this. It's an absolute no-brainer. So what we've got to do is kind of educate not just the trade, but also the public to realise that, yes, it is a minimal loan, but it's a clever loan, it's an efficient loan. It's not only going to save them money on their utility bills, which is unbelievably important at the minute. Not only is it going to save the environment, but that's not kind of banging that big drum. Because a lot of the public, to be honest with you, when you talk about saving the environment, they're just worried about paying their utility bills. Or they're just interested in having a more comfortable home. And I've said this to a number of installers and manufacturers before, which is kind of controversial when I'm standing at Ecobuild. But if you keep banging the eco drum all the time saying we're going to save the planet, people don't really listen to it that much. They think it's unaffordable for them. They think it's possibly a middle-class thing that's beyond their reach. But if you start saying to people you're going to save money, and at the same time you're going to improve the quality and comfort of your home for many years to come, then you've got a chance of getting them to sign on the dotted line. So even though I should be banging the eco drum really loudly today, sometimes with the public, I think you've got to be very, very, very careful about how you sell things. If it's about comfort, saving money, and a better quality of life, you've got a chance. If it's a middle class banging the drum, you might struggle just a little bit. But all of this here today, I think, is really incredible, amazing stuff. And I think what the industry is doing is fantastic in terms of moving in the right direction to refurbish and upgrade the 25 million existing homes that we've got in Britain. The government keep going on about build new housing, build new housing, build new housing. We do need to do that, absolutely 100%. There's a shortfall of about 200,000 new homes every year in Britain. We only built 120,000 last year, and we need to do 300,000 a year just to meet the current demand. And so because there's a supply and demand issue, it means that every single house is overinflated and overpriced because there's many people that want to buy it. And we've got to try and readjust that. But at the same time, we've got to upgrade the 25 million, that's a hell of a lot of houses, 25 million existing homes that are nowhere near the current standard of the building regs. Many don't have insulation. It's amazing. This morning, when I wandered down the street to get in my car, because it was at the other end of the road, I counted the number of windows that were double glazed on my street. Now, I'm not in a listed building, I'm not in a really super posh area, straightforward, semi-detached Edwardian homes. Of the 82 houses on the street, 4 had double glazing. 4. That is unbelievable. And it's in an area which is kind of fairly affluent, so you can't sit there and say that there's an excuse about affordability. All the guys that live on my street could afford to put in double glazing. Why aren't they doing it? I genuinely don't know. I don't quite get it. Why aren't they doing simple things like that? So not only is it about all these technologies, insulation, double glazing, looking after your boiler, and if you can afford it, upgrading the systems to take some of this stuff on board. Actually, just one other thing I wanted to say, sorry, just because I said I'd stop rambling on, but I'm not going to actually. When the government keep banging on about kickstarting the building industry, this is the sort of thing that's going to really do it. I forgot to mention that. Because actually there's a lot of skills out there. What I've been amazed at in the last 3 or 4 years when I've been working with a number of building companies, developers, and even charities as well who are trying to re-educate young kids in the building game. There are so many guys out there today with phenomenal skills who are retraining themselves and all of these fantastic technologies to make a difference to the building game. And I think the government should be doing more to push that. So when Mr. Cameron and Mr. Sharp stand there about building our way out of this recession, they've got to really commit to doing it.